Ellie, before we get started, I just want to remind, this is Greg Wyman. I just want to remind the board members to introduce themselves when they speak, just so that we have an idea of who's speaking at different parts of the meeting.
Point take, no taken. Okay, this is Shelley. We're going to call to order at 6 o'clock on the dot. We're going to go ahead and go into public meeting. First thing over the, let's go ahead and do the pledge first. Let's do that and get that over with, okay? Okay, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So let's go ahead and do our public meeting on the budget.
Okay, Shelley, I think this is Bob. I think we need to adopt the agenda first.
No. Just the way the law reads is you have to do the public hearing first. You do the public hearing, you come out of the public hearing, then you go into the rest of the agenda, and you'll come back down to 8.2 to actually approve it. We kind of went through this, so.
Okay.
All right, so Carla, you're on.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, I just want to kind of go back and review the proposed budget. We pretty much talked about this 2 weeks ago. If you can roll the screen forward, Craig, thank you. We're gonna just look at the overview of the budget, obviously look at the ADM comparisons, and then address any specific additions to the M&O budget. Again, as was stated 2 weeks ago in our study session, we adopted the budget based on the state's adopted budget. So the inflation's 1.7. DAA was phased in 1 year, not the two. So we're seeing an increase of $369,000 in our DAA money. Classroom site fund was projected at a $49 decrease from this year. Part of that is the $40 of it is the 20 by 20 portion that next year will go back into M&O. So as I had stated 2 weeks ago, committed to not reducing taking that $40 from the class site fund budget. We're going to take it from M&O. That way, going forward in the next, not this coming year, but the following year, we're not going to see that decrease. So I'm trying to maintain the class site funds stay the same, which will include the base, the PD days, and the performance pay. So I'm hoping to be able to make sure our performance pay stays at $4,000 for anyone that's eligible. Again, there was no increase in the health insurance premiums this year, which was a blessing. And as Dr. Wyman and I had said 2 weeks ago, we really feel like this budget is conservative. Next slide. Again, when we talked 2 weeks ago, we built the budget on the cohort ADM. As you can see, we're flat. We may decline, but I also have a good feeling that with the developers contacting us lately, that we'll start to see increases in the next 2 to 3 years. Plus, we're doing some marketing, and we are including an AOI, an alternative school, for the coming year, which those numbers are not in here. Next slide, please. Okay, this was just a slide showing the ADM comparisons for the last, starting in 2015 and going to 2025. So you can see we're kind of all over the map, but it's just been a steady flat rate. Next slide. This slide is actually our Group B students, which is special ed, K3, ELL. Those students, you can see we were really high in 2015 and we're slowly progressing down. We'll see an increase a little bit in 2022, and then we'll flatten, level out. Next slide is really just a comparison of our general budget limit over the last 5 years and going forward to 5 years. As you can see, we're maintaining. So, questions on any of those slides? Okay, next slide. This slide's different than what it was two weeks ago, Bob, because I know you'll notice this. The increase in new money is after that meeting, I started to think about our Prop 123 dollars actually increased for this year for the next 5 years. We've always had it in our DEA or our capital line. And with all the renovations, the school facilities board projects and the ESCO projects, I really kind of had a feeling that we didn't really need it over in DAA this year. You know, they're starting to restore DAA. So I've moved 290,000 into M&O. So that's part of the increase. Plus, as we talked about at the last meeting, our carryover is kind of fluctuating because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had some reductions in costs, but then we've had some additional costs. So we'll see that could fluctuate, could be a little more, it could be a little less. Well, we really won't know until October when I do the AFR. Slide. As we talked about 2 weeks ago, our recommendation in this budget, it shows that we will raise our certified starting salary to $42,000, which means all certified staff will receive $2,574 to their salary. We'll see an increase of $3,000 to administration and an increase of $1,000 to exempt support staff. Any of the staff that had not reached 5% with those additions will be increased up to the 5%. So that means all staff will receive a 5% increase. Next slide. Support staff, as we talked about at the end of last school year, we recognized that we had a compression with our salary schedule. So we did a compensation study this past year, and we're modeling our recommendation off the data from that compensation study. At this point this year, we're going to earmark $337,000 towards trying to decompress the salary schedule. So what that means is, even though increases are going to vary from employee to employee, the average increase in all support staff will be 5.46%. And this will be a phased-in approach, and next year will be determined on what the budget limit is going to be from the state. So we're trying to decompress this. Next slide. And to another concern was that our extra duty salary schedule based on the starting salary from 2 years ago, which was $35,000. So with the new salary schedule at $42,000, this has been increased to reflect that. And it's based on a percentage of, depending on what categories the coaches and department heads fall into. With that being said, these are the increases that we'll see out of M&O. Obviously, anybody that's paid from grant funds will be paid out of their respective monies. But as you can see, we're close to a little over $1 million in salary increases for this New Year's budget. Next. Within that, we're also recommending that we're going to hire 7 additional kindergarten positions. We've increased the band position to full-time at the high school. We're adding a half-time principal, 4 teachers, and an administrative assistant. This is to start up the alternative and online programs. We're increasing our office staff at all the schools from 11 months to 12 months, so we can keep the schools open in the summer so that we can enroll new students. We're also increasing the paraprofessional work agreement by 2 days, and then increasing the transportation dispatch also to 12 months and the professional development specialist to 12 months. After everything that's happened over the last several weeks, it's vital that we have our PD specialist on board all the time. Next slide. I know I kind of went through this quickly. It's kind of a review from 2 weeks ago. DAA, as I said, increased 369,000. Class site fund, we're still able to maintain what we have over the past years with our base level PD days and the performance pay for $4,000. Are there any questions?
Yeah, this is Bob. On the slide that showed back toward the beginning, the difference of $1.5 million, and you said that number had changed. I think the previous number was, as I recall, somewhere in the $1.2 million to $1.3 million range. Is that correct?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, because the 290 was not in that line item 2 weeks ago, and I've moved it.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay. So then we're going to go back into, we're going to move out of public. What is it called again?
Public hearing for the budget.
Yeah, the public hearing. And so go back to adopting our agenda for this meeting. So.
Okay, so I would like to move to adopt the agenda for the meeting.
Okay, that's Bob.
That's Bob.
So we'll need a second.
This is
Pat.
Steve.
I
I will second.
Oh, okay, Pat's gonna second. So then I need to do roll call. Chad,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and myself, I. So that's and motion carries 5-0. So now we'll need an approval of the meeting minutes. First, is there any questions on there that you have on the meeting minutes from last time? No? All right. Then I'll need a motion for the
So
meeting minutes.
This is Bob. I'd like to move to approve the meeting minutes.
This is Chad. I second.
Okay. So I'll take roll call. Pat,
Aye.
Steven,
Aye.
and myself, Shelley, I. Motion carries 5-0. All right. So now we have a superintendent report.
Thank you. A number of different things we want to talk about. First off, last night we had the in-person graduation ceremony for the class of 2020. It was a great ceremony for them. We had about 150 of the class there. Outstanding job by the administration and the teachers at the high school, Mr. Farabee, Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Schmidt. I thought it was a very nice ceremony. We do want to thank Midstate Energy, Urban Energy Solutions, Stigler Carrier, and Professional Consulting Engineers. They gave us a significant donation to help cover the cost, and that ensured that we could go ahead and host a graduation that would be very similar to what would have been a normal graduation. So balloons and fireworks and all those kind of things. So very, very appreciative of their generosity. Also want to thank our community. We put out the survey. We will be sharing that with the board, the results with the board and the community. Unbelievable return rate, just short of 2,500 that answered all the questions. When we look at the data in totality, it also adds in those people that may have answered some of the questions and not all of them. And with those numbers, we are at 2,960. So that probably represents, I don't have the exact number, but that probably represents in excess of 3,700 of our kids. So you're in the 85% return rate on that. So that is a very good understanding of what the community wants. We will use the information from that survey to go ahead and inform what our pandemic plan will be. We also put out a survey to our staff. We had about 331 people respond to that. Again, about 50% of our staff. That information also will inform what we do within the pandemic plan. We plan to have that the pandemic plan out by the end of the month to start to give people an idea of what we're looking at next year. We are looking at a couple different scenarios, three different scenarios. We're just trying to fine tune them, but it's also going to be on a much grander scale than that. When we look at our operations, our facilities, our transportation, our food service, communications, community education, teaching and learning. So it's a fairly in-depth plan. Obviously, what's released to the public will be a slimmed down version of it because some of the details are more for our employees than it would be for the public. That plan will be important because as we move forward, please know that we do have 3 confirmed cases of COVID-19 at the district office and transportation area. So that area will be closed for another week. Our schools will be closing down for the rest of June at the end of this week. What we will do is, even though it's part of the pandemic plan, this Thursday, we're having it reviewed by attorneys right now, but this Thursday we will release out of the pandemic plan just exactly what the expectations are for the district for those individuals that are tested positive for COVID-19, as well as those individuals that may feel they've come in contact with an individual that's tested positive for COVID-19. The recommendation or the expectations that will be released to staff do follow CDC guidelines, and in some cases we're actually going to recommend something slightly higher than CDC guidelines. And so I will also share that with the board. We're just waiting for, like I said before, attorney review. For the board, tentatively, we're looking at June 29th on Monday, June 29th for the board retreat. So please let me know if that does not work for you. We got to find a date to do a board retreat before the end of the year.
What time are we going to start that?
That would be 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would look to quote unquote go all day. Whether it takes all day or not, we'll see. But there's a number of issues that come up. There's a very good chance that we will present the pandemic plan to you as part of the retreat. So it's a little bit out of the norm what a retreat would be. But obviously that's driving a lot of issues within the district. And so we would share it with you. And if there's a comfort level from the board, then that would be released tentatively on the 30th of June, which is what our goal is as of right now. I also do want to read a statement in light of everything that's happening in the country relative to policing issues and racism and some of those kind of things. And so this is a statement that will be released from both the board and myself, and will be pushed out after the meeting tonight. And what it reads: in light of recent events, we would be remiss to not acknowledge the important conversations surrounding social injustices that currently dominate our country's landscape. The J.O. Combs Unified School District and our schools are much more than places where people work and learn. In many ways, our schools are the heart of our community. As such, we have a responsibility to provide outstanding education as well as a safe space for our students, families, and staff. As a district, we are committed to addressing and ensuring equality for our students, developing growth mindsets that enable us to challenge ourselves and grow as lifelong learners, and supporting the social and emotional needs of the families we serve. Within our schools, we emphasize the celebration of differences, promote inclusion, and provide a nurturing culture that ensures all voices are heard. This opportunity is no different. The importance of challenging these injustices cannot and should not be understated and falls upon the shoulders of all of us. We recognize the emotional toll that these racial injustices have on our staff, students, and community, and are committed to supporting those who have experienced stress and traumas as a result. To that end, if your child is in need of support due to recent events that have taken place, please note that resources are available, and that particular statement will be linked so family members can look up those resources. We encourage all staff, families, and community to take this time to listen, to learn, and to amplify the voices that must be heard in order to enact change. The J.O. Combs Unified School District will model the way with these courageous conversations. We will stand in solidarity against racism and violence, and we will continue our work to create a stronger, better community for all of us. And so we'd like to put that statement out at the end of the meeting tonight. It'll go on social media and be distributed out amongst and placed on the district webpage. That's all I have for my reports. Thank you.
Okay. So we're at 5.2. Does any governing board members have
Can I
something?
just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Sorry, Madam President. Just a quick question, Dr. Wyman. So while the schools are closed for the next couple of weeks, just to be safe and stuff, if any parents call in, do those calls get forwarded anywhere? I mean, we have people that can answer phone calls.
Yeah, we have people that are monitoring the calls, checking on a daily basis. If they come in as a call, they're handled, or if it comes in as a contact on our website, that generates an email, in which case the email is being monitored and will be sent to the appropriate staff.
I figured. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay. Governing board members, does anybody have something that they would like to report?
Yes, this is Bob.
Okay.
Earlier today, ASBA had an event, an online event called Roadmap to Opening Schools, and it was meant to highlight and review what they had put out earlier about how to open schools. And I've got to tell you, I was a little bit disappointed, only because a lot of what they said are things we're already doing, and we're doing the things that don't cost money. Yet a lot of what they recommended it's going to cost a lot of money, like reducing class sizes, having staggered schedules, having a modified layout, and moving kids around to different classrooms, things that are almost impossible to do. So while I was appreciative of the fact they took an hour to go through stuff, it's stuff that we're either already doing because it's common sense and it's following CDC guidelines, or it's stuff that can't logistically be done or can't be done without a lot more money. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Stephen, you have
I
something?
watched that too, Bob, and I agree with what you have to say. Thank you.
Cool.
Good job, guys. All right. Well, I do have one thing that I would like to bring up. It's been over the last couple of days brought to my attention that there's some members in our community that are concerned about the transparency in the process in which the governing board makes decisions. It's important to me to emphasize that we serve these roles to our community, to support our community, and that means listening to the voice of our taxpayers. For that reason, I'm hoping that our community go to our website, review our agendas, attend our board meetings and or study sessions, and participate so that we can hear, their voices can be heard. So our governing board meetings and study sessions are the only forums that we discuss and make decisions that take place. That being said, I not only welcome our community during these processes, but I also encourage them to attend. So, and on a second note, I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Wyman for your efforts to think outside the box and come up with new ways to maximize the resources and support our students. While every idea may not come to fruition, I still appreciate your leadership and your commitment to explore creative ways for their district to grow and serve our community. So,
Well said.
that's all I have. So, public comments. Do we have any public comments today? Is Mary Lou here? Do we know? Mary Lou? Hello?
I can hear her. I don't know what's happening with her microphone. I can hear her because she's in the office next to me, and she indicated that there is no comments that she's reviewed, and there's no public comments at this time.
Huh.
This is Madam President, this is Mary Lou Martinez. I just
Okay.
checked the online spreadsheet and there are no citizens' comments to report.
That's a tad disappointing. Okay, so we have our consent agenda. Do we have any questions about consent agenda?
Yes, this is Bob. I do have two questions on the consent agenda.
Okay,
One is on item 7-6, the contract or the agreement with Pima JTED. And
uh-huh.
it looks like it's something we've done in the past, but I don't recall. So I'm wondering if we could just maybe get a little bit more information in terms of our involvement in that.
Yes, it is one that we brought to you last year, and I think John Scroggin was on the call. If you could just give a slight overview of what that's all about.
Absolutely. The IGA with the Pima JTED, which is also part of the curriculum consortium, is something that we have participated in for several years. The majority of the districts across the state participate in this. It's a resource for our CTE teachers. It provides lesson plans, scope and sequence, blueprints, and assessment materials for our teachers that are tied to the state standards. The curriculum consortium also works hand in hand with the ADE CTE department so that there's an alignment with the materials that are provided with what's expected from the state.
Okay. Thank you. You have refreshed my memory.
Okay, did you have another one? You said a couple questions. Did you have another
No,
one?
actually, that was the only one. Yeah.
Okay.
I just,
any
I'll just add that, Bob, that's the agreement we have that helps make Combs as I mean, that's one of the shining things of Combs, I believe, is our CTE department and
Oh, for sure.
we have with the JTED and the state and EVIT as well. All of those programs are part of what make, as it makes our high school so amazing. All those technical and career and CTE classes that we have available. So yeah, that's just the agreement that helps us to have the curriculum and things that we need.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so that we need a motion on the consent agenda.
This is Pat. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay.
This is Bob. I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, Chad,
Yeah. Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
aye for me as well. So that's motion carries 5-0. All right, so we're going to get down to 8.1, discussion and consideration of approval of the 2021 salary schedules.
This is an agenda item that would align with the proposed budget that Carla presented a little bit earlier. There are what you have on the agenda item. There's a summary that speaks to exactly what Carla spoke to relative to the variety of groups, the certified staff, the support staff, exempt support staff, administrative staff, extra duty stipends, the sanctioned AIA events. That is just an increase to those individuals that work at our at the various events. In all cases, we wanted to come in alignment with what will be potentially the minimum wage in January. We anticipate that it'll go up 1.70%. So we went ahead and took care of that right now. And then we applied that same increase across all the other positions. And then if there's a particular salary schedule you would like me to discuss, I'd be more than happy to. You'll also see that there is the salary increase. This is something new that maybe people are not used to, the salary increase for all staff members. If you go on there, you'll be able to see each staff member's increase. This is related to some legal advice across the state, not unique to J.O. Combs, about concerns of board members making sure they understand exactly what the financial increases are for any employee. And so the various 5%, on average 5%, et cetera, that Carla talked about, this is what's applied to and put in that particular attachment. So be more than happy to answer any questions about the specifics. It's pretty much what we discussed at the last meeting, but if there are questions or concerns, I'll be happy to answer.
Bob, are you still looking?
No, I've spoken to Greg separately about this, so I had all my questions answered.
Okay. I know that we went over this in our study session as well, so
Yes.
at length. So, all right. So if no more questions, and I need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the 2020-21 salary schedules as presented. This is Bob.
This is Stephen. I will second that.
Okay, roll call. Pat,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
for me is aye, so motion carries 5-0. So now we're down to 8.2, which is the presentation that we saw right before we started the meeting. Any other questions on this? Anything change? Bob, you didn't think of a question in the meantime?
I already asked the question earlier.
Okay, if there's no questions, then we can make a motion.
Okay, this is Bob. I move to approve the 2020-21 district expenditure budget as presented.
This is Pat. I second.
Roll call. Chad,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Madam President, this is Carla. I just want to remind you, I will be sending you an email through DocuSign so that I can get your signatures on the cover sheet.
Sounds good. That means we all need to do it right away.
Yes, thank
Correct?
I'm
Yes.
getting better. I'm getting better.
Okay, 8.3, consider approval of recommendations for final pay of school-wide student achievement from Prop 301 Performance Pay Plan from the 2019-20.
The performance plan, the 301 performance plan, is a plan that's voted on by staff at the beginning of the year. Then it is put in place. It's a situation where staff members, certified staff members who meet the definition under the law, have specific goals with which they work to meet during the year. In the particular case, the one little nuance I just want to explain to everybody for this year is the plan has two options, and generally speaking, the first option is what we've used the last couple of years. Given the school closure, the first option presented some problems because we will not get letter grades. They were just going to roll them over from last year, and there was no state testing. The majority of staff would have been penalized in terms of achieving the points they needed for the money associated with this performance pay. We did not believe that was fair to staff because that was outside of their control. So we opted to move to option 2, which was part of the approved plan that took that section out. And we also looked to change some of the goals. We worked with the staff, worked with principals to come up with different goals. And the reason for that is that they had goals that were tied to state testing, as an example, or tied to some benchmark testing in the district, which we did not complete because of the school closures. Again, they would have been unfairly punished and lost the money that they could have earned because of that. So this agenda item is just approval so that we can pay them out by the end of the month. The one cautionary piece I would tell you, this is a bonus, but in previous years, because the letter grades did not come out until October, November, they got 75% or 80% of the salary of the performance pay right now. And then we came back and paid them the remainder in December once we got the finalized letter grades. Because that is no longer part of it, what you will see today is the full amount that everybody, all employees, all certified staff will receive, and that will go out by the end of the month.
Okay.
This is Bob. I have a question. Assuming we approve this evening, when do employees find out the amount that they receive?
Okay, on the agenda, if they open up the attachment, they will see what they're gonna receive. Again, this is very similar to the question 8.1 because of legal counsel's advice across the state. We have to put the numbers in so the board can see it. So it's right there for them to see as we speak, and they'll get their paycheck. I believe it's the last week in June, they'll get the paycheck.
So, all right. Any other questions? Okay, so we need a motion on 8.3.
I move to approve the final payment of the school-wide student achievement from Proposition 301 Performance Pay Plan for 2019-2020.
That was
This is
Bob.
Bob. This is Bob.
This is Steve. I will second that.
All right, roll call, Pat,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
so that is, motion carries 5-0. Why do I keep saying 5-0? All right, discussion, 8.4, discussion and consideration to not allow charter school students to try out for interscholastic athletics and activities and defined as supported by AIA.
Yes, what this is the AIA requires that the school districts on an annual basis approve online students to participate in our schools, in our athletics. The issue that comes up is, and what's new this year is we're going to have an AOI. So the question that comes into play is, if there is a student that's an online student, we would like them to be enrolled in our AOI. If you have an online student that's just for argumentative sake in K-12 online school, and then they want to come up, play our sports, they would pay to play in that sport. But that dollar amount, no way covers the cost of what it takes to run a sports program for one individual. Since we have an AOI and since it will be aligned to such that it will be NCAA clearinghouse approved, which means any student that takes those classes, if they were going to go to an NCAA school and wanted to participate in sports, they could. We believe that we offer what anybody else can offer, and this will drive, we hope, kids to our system, where we will not only we will receive the dollars for them to be attending our AOI. I don't know how big of an issue it is down here. In other communities I've been in, it's a bigger issue. But for people to attend another online school, but still come play sports for us, that's what we're trying to combat. Please note that this is for online students. That is different than a homeschool student. The law states if you're a true homeschool student, and the homeschool student is defined by a parent registering their student through the county school superintendent, and then purchasing the curriculum and providing the education for the student, not someone who signs up for a online school that is technically a public school in the state of Arizona. And so an online, a homeschool student could still participate in our sports, but we're trying to drive any kid that decides to be online to go ahead and join our school, and then they would go ahead and be able to participate in our sports. Again, I don't know what the percentage or numbers it is that would mean for us because we haven't had the online school before, but hopefully that would mean those that want to play sports would go ahead and join our AOI. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so go ahead, Shelley.
I have a question. Currently, how many kids do we have that are charter school that are playing for us?
The online, I do not know. I believe it would be one, maybe two. I don't think it's an issue. Again, other districts I've been in, it's a bigger issue. But since this is a year-long process, if anybody did try to come and play, we would be able to drive them to our AOI.
Okay, this is Bob. I just have a problem with the wording with the double negative.
Okay.
Recommended action is not to not allow students not attending. Is there a way to state that without the double negative?
Let's see. Not sure there is, because the way the statement's been in the past has been we are permitting them to do it. In this case, we're not permitting them to do it, and they're not in our online school. So I'm not sure off the top of my head. Maybe one of the other board members will have one, but off the top of my head, how we get that. What we're basically saying is, if you are not attending our online school, then you're not allowed to participate in AIA activities.
I have a thought.
Okay.
We'd say we only allow students attending Joe Combs online school to participate in AI sport, to participate in sports. How's that?
Okay. Sounds like a motion.
So I move to only allow students who are attending J.O. Combs AOI to participate in sports.
This is Bob. I'll second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Pat,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
myself, I. So motion carries 5-0.
So,
All right.
Dr. Wyman, so I just, to be clear then, we're not necessarily required as a district to allow homeschool students access to our sports programs that live within our
Okay.
boundaries.
No, let's back up. Two different issues. The homeschool students, we are under state statute required to allow them to participate in our sports.
Right.
Online kid, no, we're saying you can't. And the real differentiation is if you sign up for K-12, if you sign up for Primavera, if you sign up for some of those are not homeschool situations. Those
Right.
are situations where kids are signed up for a public school. Therefore, even though it's online, they would not be able to participate in our events. So slight difference there. A kid that's homeschooled would be able to.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure everybody had that clear. That was my understanding. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Okay. 8.5, discussion and consideration for approval of boundary changes for Symington Elementary. Oof, it's gonna be a hot topic.
Yeah, I have a question about that one.
Okay.
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Do you want to say anything first before we go into it, Dr. Wyman? Or no?
Sure. If Craig could please there put up the map. I don't know if we can make that bigger. I know it's small where I'm at. Really, this is the current map that we have right now, and you can see the students that go to Ellsworth, especially in the Laredo Ranch area, and then down into what would be Archer Meadows. Ellsworth is our largest school right now. Symington's our smallest. As we grow, as Archer Meadows grows, and some of the other developments start to come online, we believe we need to make a boundary change. What we're trying to do, so if you slide it up, Craig, to the next page, you'll see that the proposed change is just to take the Laredo Ranch area and the Archer Meadows area, and those students would go to Symington. However, we understand that families may be invested in Ellsworth already. And so what we're recommending in the motion is that if there's any students that are currently going to Ellsworth Elementary, or they have siblings, even if they are not yet enrolled in our school system, if they would like them to go to Ellsworth, they can still continue to go to Ellsworth. Somebody new moves in to Laredo Ranch this summer, then we would say they have to go to Symington. That will, we hope, start to take care of some potential growth issues over the next few years, especially as some of these subdivisions in that part of the district come on board. And it will balance out the schools because we have capacity in both of those schools.
Okay. Steve, what is your question?
So help me remember, I think I remember we briefly discussed this. Is that correct?
I've had some conversations just with some board members right before COVID-19, and then things got crazy.
Okay, so my question is, on the board policy, it says that board meeting, therefore it said the governing board recognizes that the proposed adoption of attendance boundaries or change in current attendance boundaries is a topic which will generate much concern and interest by all who may be affected. Therefore, board meetings to discuss proposed changes and to attendance boundaries shall have comment periods and will be preceded by prior notification to parents. So did we allow parents to comment on this? Is there a comment period? I mean, I don't know if there was.
The comment period would be called a public. What occurred was all parents in the Symington boundaries, as well as the current Ellsworth boundaries, were provided a letter from me that indicated that this action was going to take place tonight, and that they're more than welcome to come and speak to the board if they had concerns. Also, they were notified that this map would be up on the website so they could take a look at it. In addition to that, we sent out note cards, or postcards, I should say, to all individuals in the affected boundaries. So that would have told them the same thing. I'm not sure what the delivery system is with the U.S. Postal Service. So we believe we got them in time, but I really don't know how the delivery was. So that was put out. And in addition, we put a social media push out, I believe 2 weeks ago, on our website and through our social media to inform people of this change. So we tried to hit all of the spots that were in policy and regulation that told us we needed to inform people of it. If they had a concern or question, then the call to public portion tonight would have been their opportunity to comment on this change. Again, because of the grandfathering in of current students as well as any siblings, including those that are not even enrolled in our system, we would assume that would take away maybe concerns from a parent who currently has a child in Ellsworth. And so I would have not have anticipated very many comments because we were trying to make sure that this did not become a divisive issue by doing the grandfathering piece. And that would be typical in lots of school districts.
Okay, I just, I mean, that's fine. I just don't remember obviously, I think due to COVID-19, but as long as we put it out there and did that part, that's fine. Okay.
Greg, did you receive any feedback?
Nope.
Did anybody contact you?
Nope.
As I know I've got a lot of people contacting me right now, and not one, I haven't gotten any emails on that.
Yeah. Now, like I say, we believe it's pretty a minor issue per se because of the grandfathering, and it just positions ourselves as we get growth to be in a better spot. Archer Meadows should start to open up probably late fall, early winter, and then that way they would know that they are to go to the Symington Elementary.
Okay. Well, sounds like we did due diligence anyway. Okay. Any other discussion? Any other questions? No? Okay, so I'll need a motion on 8.5.
All right, I move to approve the changes to the Symington Elementary School boundary as presented. That's Stephen Ray.
I second it. This is Pat.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Aye for me, so motion carries 5-0. Okay, so 8.6, discussion and consideration to award RFP 2008-25 photographer student portrait high school vendor.
You can see from the comment section, I don't know if Ms. Carla wants to speak up, but in this case, it's just an RFP that we went out for for the student photographer, the portraits at the high school, and they're making the recommended selection of the vendor based on the request for proposal process that was put out. Carla, is there anything you need to add to that?
No, and there will be, because of the expertise with high school compared to kindergarten through 8th, there will be another committee that'll select the vendor for the K through 8 photography services, and that'll come at a later date.
So,
Carla, oh,
can
Yes.
you tell me who reviews this? Like, is there somebody at the high school that reviews it?
There was a committee member from the high school, and then my buyer. The two of them were the committee. Because of the COVID-19, they had to do it remotely, and it got critical because pictures need to be started to be taken. So it was something that had to happen quite immediately.
Carla, have we used Lou Coopy before?
Not here. I know I've used Lou Coopy for my own kids when they were at Chandler. I thought they did a good job.
Lou Coopy's been around a long time.
Yes.
Okay, any further questions?
No.
All right, we'll need a motion.
This is Bob. I move to award the RFP 20-08-25 photographer student portrait for the high school to the vendor suggested.
This is Steve. I'll second.
Okay, we'll take roll call. Pat?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Aye for myself. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Discussion and consideration of approval, IGA between J.O. Combs Unified School District and Maricopa Community Colleges for dual enrollment for 2020 to 2021.
Yes, we have an agreement with CAC right now for dual enrollment. We have about, I believe it's 7 different courses that we offer. We have a very robust athletic training program. Unfortunately, CAC does not have a program within their curriculum that we could offer dual enrollment. We have lots of students that would like to offer it. So we went, Mr. Scroggum went to CAC and asked for permission early in the year. Quite frankly, I was just on board to see if we could go ahead and work with Chandler Gilbert, because they have a program. It's a fairly lengthy process of getting approval through CAC to go ahead and work with Maricopa, because obviously they're not in our county and they're not the community college we would normally work with. So we went back and forth for quite a lengthy time and finally got it all worked out. And so this agreement would allow us, for all the kids in the athletic training curriculum, to go ahead and take a dual enrollment course, where completing the courses would give them both high school and junior college credit. But it'll just be through a different campus, MCC instead of CAC. And the course would take place on our campus, so the kids don't have to leave the campus, but they do get a walkout with the dual enrollment credit. And so I would recommend approval as presented.
I have a question. It says Maricopa Community Colleges. So is that any of them? And any of the community colleges in Maricopa, or just Mesa Community College?
No, it's the system. So the system is across
Okay.
the entire Maricopa Community College system, and the IGA comes out of the system. But the school that we'll be working with will be Gilbert Chandler Gateways, who we'll be working with, because they have the program. But the actual IGA is with the entity itself, so that'd be MCCS.
Well, just a side note, and you may not know this, but I know that NAU does a lot of their satellite stuff there as well. I wonder if they could get into that as well pretty easily then.
We would hope so, and that's why we're pushing this. It's a great opportunity for our kids to be prepared to go to the next level. And so any chance we could get to work with higher ed for our kids, we'll continue to explore.
Any other questions? Just a side note, good job, Mr. Scroggum.
Yes, good job, John.
So I'll need a motion.
This is Pat. I make a motion to approve the IGA between J.O. Combs Unified School District and Maricopa Community Colleges for dual enrollment for 2021 as presented.
This is Chad. I second.
Okay, roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye for myself, so that motion carries 5-0. So now we're down to information and discussion items. It says none. Do we have requests for future agenda items?
Yes, this is Bob. Earlier today, I participated in another webinar by Footsteps to Brilliance, and it was hosted by Dr. Spencer. And it made me realize that since we're going to be using what appeared to be such a wonderful program, it would be nice if we learned how to use it. So I'm wondering if we can have some kind of, I have 2 parts to this. One, a tutorial, so we can learn how to use it and maybe show our grandchildren or children how to use it. But also number 2, part of the presentation when we adopted it was to have it be available for non-Combs students. And how would community members access it and use it? So I would like more information about Footsteps to Brilliance.
Okay, we'll put it on a future agenda item. Ironically, I have a conference call tomorrow morning on this very issue, but we will also present something at the July board meeting.
All right. Anybody else?
I just wanted to thank echo Dr. Wyman's gratitude to everybody who helped put on the graduation last night. That was a great event. I was glad I was able to be there, and also just as usual, just shout out to all the staff members and admin team and the principals, and just thank you for all that you guys are doing a great job. This year was not quite what we thought it was going to be, or it turned out differently, but I still stick to the fact and the feeling that that the effort we put forth here at Combs was admirable and wonderful and above average among what I saw going on in other parts of the state and across the country. And I think we're going to be well positioned to start the next school year strong, regardless of which path we end up having to start the year with. So good job. Just a shout out. Well done.
All right. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn at 6:55.
This is
This is
Pat,
Bob.
second.
Okay, well, Pat's going to second it. We're going to take roll. Bob,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Steve.
Hi.
All right, motion carries 5-0. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Guys.